Nordic hamstring curls are one of the best things that you can do to increase the size, strength, and durability of your hamstrings. You'll see professional athletes like Tyreek Hill or George St. Pierre using them to improve their athletic performance, and I started doing Nordic hamstring curls about 2.5 years ago, and they've massively benefited my hamstrings, my durability, and my game in jiu-jitsu. Now, Nordics are awesome, and everybody knows how beneficial they are. The one problem is that they are super fucking hard to progress. And that's why I've teamed up with elite jiu-jitsu athletes and strength coaches, Josh Sutledge and Jimmy House, and we're gonna take you through the step-by-step process for you to get your first Nordic curl, which is elite, and then we're gonna show you how you can get yourself past that.
The Nordic curl is one of the top 3 bodyweight exercises that I encourage all of my jiu-jitsu athletes to get started on for a few reasons. Mainly, the Nordic curl is a great way to strengthen the hamstrings, and it's also one of the best exercises you can do to build up stability and strength in the knees. Jimmy had a crazy knee injury. Ironically, about a week later, I had a crazy knee injury. Jimmy and I have both been using the Nordic curl before we got injured just to help with our performance on the mat, but thankfully, because we built up strength with the Nordic curl, even though we got injured, we were still able to mitigate how much damage was actually done to our knees due to the strength that we had built up in our knees from the Nordic curl.
Why are Nordics so good for athletes to be able to do? One of the reasons, and probably the biggest reason, is because a majority of athletes do not strengthen their hamstrings in the lengthened position. Most things that you're doing in the gym, like a leg curl or RDLs, are actually kind of good, but these can really strengthen that hamstring when you are in that long range position. When you're sprinting, boom, you come out here, you step. A lot of athletes pull their hamstrings because maybe their hamstrings aren't that strong in that position. Now, the machine that you guys see us using in this video is from Shogun Sports. It's their NordX, a lower back / Nordic curl machine. Extremely high quality, and if you want to use my code Nsima, you'll be able to save 15%. If you want a cheaper option, you can totally use a lifting belt and attach it to a bench. I've done that before. You can grab the Nord Stick, and it's a Nordic curl attachment that you can attach to your door frame, but the one from Shogun Sports is very high quality, and I'm pumped to be using it. This assisted Nordic with the band is something that I originally saw from Jimmy, and I think he said it was one of his homies.
Jacob Hayes. Run this man up to 50K followers, dog. The main issue when it comes to Nordic curls is just it's so damn hard, and it's hard to support yourself where you get the most benefit, which is right at the bottom. So I see a lot of people use their hands to push them up, and that's a great way to regress it, but also a lot of times you push a little bit too hard and you don't maximize the benefit. So with the band, you are able to maintain a constant tension as you go down towards the bottom. So some cues here. 1, press your toes against the back here, calf raise. Naturally, you want these guys to be pretty tight on your ankles so you're locked in, and we're gonna start with a hip extension. So glutes squeeze and we extend our hips forward. From this position, my hands can be here, and Nsima talks about having them here, or you can have them in a triangle behind your back. Either way, my goal is to maintain the tension towards the very bottom here and stay as straight as possible. Then curl, using the band to help you guys with the movement.
A way that you can regress this, because for some people this might be actually a little bit difficult, you can do something that's called a razor curl. So this would be an assisted razor curl where Jimmy, instead of having his hips in extension, he'll bring his hips here, and then he'll still try to go all the way down, but maybe he can't get his hips to full extension because he's not that strong yet, potentially. That is still okay as a regression for the Nordic curl.
What I have a lot of jiu-jitsu athletes do is this right here, which is going to be a partial range of motion Nordic curl. All you need to do is just elevate the surface in front of you. That way you have a safe stopping point, and everything else that Jimmy just demonstrated on the previous variation is going to apply for this variation as well. You're going to squeeze your glutes as much as you can. Make sure your ankles and feet are locked in to the secure point behind you. You're going to come down, feeling that tension in the hamstring. Once you come down, you're going to focus on pulling your heels to your cheek meat and bringing yourself back up. This is a great way for jiu-jitsu athletes, or really any athlete in general, to begin strengthening their hamstrings without necessarily having to fall all the way face first and bust their teeth, which I may or may not have done before when I first tried Nordic curls. This is a great way for you to have something in between that you can work on to begin developing strength in your hamstrings.
Now, once you've completed the half Nordic, the next step is to go all the way down, but your hips won't be an extension. This movement is called the
razor curls, which is going to have hinge at the hips. As he goes down here, he's, quote, twerking his ass back as he reaches downward with his chest. This is a very close cousin to the full range of motion Nordic curl. And you notice the higher he comes up, the higher the pitch of his moan gets, which essentially equates to a higher rate of stimulus based on countless scientific studies. Now, the more and more he does this, we assume that he gets closer to full extension, just like he's doing right now, but maybe he has to assist himself at the very end if he's forced to moan at the very bottom. And through the centric assistance and the concentric assistance, this is how we build to a true unassisted Nordic curl, which you'll see here soon in the video.
A big component of the Nordic curl is the eccentric loading that you get on the hamstring. Eccentric loading, all that means is the load that you get on the hamstrings as you're coming down. Building eccentric strength is very important for improving your ability to absorb force, and regardless of whatever sport you're doing, whether that's sprinting, jiu-jitsu, wrestling, MMA, having eccentric strength is so important when it comes to decreasing your risk of injury. If you want to get the full benefits of the Nordic curl, you have to build strength, lowering yourself down with control, and pulling yourself back up. A lot of times people will make the mistake of not controlling the eccentric and crashing down at the bottom and then pulling themselves back up. One variation that you can do to regress yourself to a place where you can get the benefits of eccentric loading is by lowering yourself down with control, and then when you need to, use your hands to give yourself a little bit of support as you lower yourself down to the bottom, and then pull yourself back up using your hamstrings. This is going to be the best Nordic progression video on YouTube, and if you've been watching this video for a minute, that means that you're ready for a full Nordic, which means that you're going to take yourself all the way down and you're going to bring yourself all the way back up with no assistance with the band, no assistance with your hands, and you can really begin building some insane hamstring strength with full range of motion Nordics.
Now that you're able to do a full Nordic, you have elite level hamstring strength, but we can take it a bit further. And now to progress.
If you're crazy like that, if you're crazy and ready for something way more difficult, you can do an overhead or hands above head, hands on head Nordic curl, which when you raise your hands over your head, you're lengthening the lever, which places much more strain and load on the hamstrings.
By the way, I do want to mention, learn this from Fitness FAQs, who has a great Nordic progression curl video on YouTube. I don't think it's as good as this one, but it is very good, which is where we learned this. Josh, keep on.
If you're doing this with a partner, your partner should be able to hold their hands over their head, and they should be able to dab you up as they're coming down before they come back up. There we go.
Let's go!
So the next progression we have is a levitating Nordic curl, which on the normal Nordic curl, typically when you go down at the bottom, people will kind of rest and lose tension, right? And this is great if you can bring yourself back up, but you can really condition your hamstring at that point of max length, which for jiu-jitsu, let's say I have somebody in back control, the angle that Nsima's legs are at here is very similar to the angle that you would have if you're trying to control somebody in guard and back control, what have you. And so basically what this is doing is building your yielding isometric strength in this given position, which if you can maintain a hold with your body weight for a Nordic curl, you can probably assume that that strength behind your knee is world class.
After you can do that, levitating Nordic curl, maybe you want to try levitating for a few seconds, 5 seconds or so, then coming back up. Now that you've gotten to that level where you can do a levitating Nordic for a few seconds, you're a gym bro. It's time to add some fucking weight. First thing we're gonna do is the plate loaded eccentric, where we're gonna come down with the plate at the bottom, drop the plate, come up, right? You can progress that. Maybe you can do a 10. Now maybe you grab a 25 and do your best to control yourself. Drop it, and then come all the way up. If you can do that, try now to have a plate loaded eccentric and concentric. So let's maybe grab a 10. Control yourself down. Boom, control yourself up. And like the gym bro, we gotta add some weight to that bitch. So you might get to a point where you can control yourself down. Oh God, I can't do it right now. So we're gonna grab this. And control yourself up. We've done a lot of Nordics in this video.
We already did one earlier.
Now, we're gonna have to use B-roll on this bitch because my hamstrings don't have the energy, but if you can do that, then you wanna get yourself to do a levitating Nordic curl with whatever weight. Maybe I can do it with this 10-pounder, but levitating Nordic, tack, 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 tack. And we are back up. There's one more, the last one. I can't fucking do it right now, but I'm gonna put B-roll of the decline Nordic curl. Ben Patrick told me that that is one of the hardest Nordics to do. I'm placing the video here, but if you could do that, follow us for more tips on becoming stronger humans, and we will talk to y'all soon. Hope you guys enjoyed this video on how to progress your Nordic hamstring curl. If you want to learn more from Jimmy, Josh, and I, we did a full podcast on how to gain strength and size for BJJ right here. And if you want to see how I did at the IBJJF World Championship, you can check that out right here. Pick one. Do one. Pick one. Why are you still here, dog? Come on now. Pick one.